So you want to know the difference between modes and scales. The first thing to know is that you shouldn't think of scales as actual notes. Scales should be thought of as intervals. And if you have no idea what an interval is, I'll tell you. You've heard of a whole step, right? What about a half step? That is what makes up scales, a whole step, half step relationship. So for the major scale, the pattern is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That is the root position of the major scale. Now most scales conform to keys, which is a sequence of notes that will be either sharp or flat by default. And really keys exist for notation and sight reading, actual written music. Most guitar players aren't really concerned with notation, and that's okay, but I think it's important to understand that keys exist for communication between musicians via notation. Now, side note, not every scale has a key. The chromatic scale and the whole tone scale, those scales have intervals that are equidistant from each other, meaning the chromatic scale is all half steps from octave to octave. The whole tone scale is all whole steps, octave to octave. But pretty much every other scale has between 5 and 7 notes. And here's where we get to modes. Within a single key, we can use a different bass note of the notes making up that key, and that will determine a mode. So if we have 7 notes in the major scale, we have potentially 7 different places to start playing the major scale. Does that make sense? Let's take an example. Ionian starts on the tonic, the note for which the key is named. So in other words, the root position mode, or the first mode of any scale, is by default your reference point for the scale itself. The Ionian mode is the major scale. Kind of weird, I know, but some of the coolest things are weird. So we'll take the key of G and we will play the G major scale, and I'll show you all the different modes and why they are what they are. Ionian starts on the tonic note. Like I mentioned, this is what the key is named for. So in the key of G, the Ionian mode starts on G. The interval pattern is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. The next mode of the major scale in G major would be Dorian. This starts on the next note higher in the key than the tonic, A. And as you see, the major scale intervals are the same. We're just starting on the next interval in the sequence. Whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. This goes all the way up the scale. Phrygian starts on the note 1 major third higher than the tonic. Lydian starts on the note 1 perfect fourth higher than the tonic. Mixolydian starts on the note 1 perfect fifth higher than the tonic. Aeolian starts on the note 1 major sixth higher than the tonic. And finally, Locrian starts on the note 1 major seventh higher than the tonic. So that's it. Scales are a series of intervals, and modes are the exact same intervals with a different starting point in that interval formula. This theory applies to virtually every scale other than the chromatic and the whole tone scale, like I mentioned, and it is a great way to understand any scale and learn all of its positions. So this is just like a snapshot of all the awesome music theory that you can learn in my course Guitar Super System, linked down in the description. Go ahead and sign up for that if this lesson was helpful for you and you want to learn more how to actually use these major scale modes in your guitar playing, and a lot of other stuff that I can't get into because there's just so much. This video would be like 12 million hours long. I'll see you guys later. Until next time, keep shredding.